Flashback, Episode 15, Deine Papieren Bitta, in New York City of Dis. Taylor, Katie, and I had just escaped from an anti-Karen throng of people. Thankfully, the mob did not follow us. Well, finally we entered the subway without further incident. We purchased subway tickets for Manhattan and had some time to kill. We withdrew to the least crowded area in the subway that we could find, and we waited. After our experience with the guilt-mugging thug, and the Karen white woman, and the mob of angry people with camera phones, well, we were all on high alert. We were paranoid of everyone. We were even leery of people that appeared entirely innocent. We feared getting involved in anything with anyone, in any incident, or in any altercation. Apparently, everyone in New York had an attitude, and they had expectations. And any deviation from their rules and expectations, even speaking contrarian words against them or their newspeak, meant that you had lost all of your rights and that you should be eliminated. That you should be canceled, removed, deleted, that you should be goned. Yeah. Well, we goned ourselves out of sight, away from the crowds, down into the subway's far corners. Katie looked distressed. I don't think there's safety here. Blending in with crowds because, well, the crowds themselves, they're not safe. Katie worried. No, there won't be safety in numbers anymore, or safety in public anywhere here, it seems. Well, what could anyone say to Katie about that? It was obviously true, given our recent incident. There was no longer safety in crowds, as she said, or with other people at all. People represented real threat and very real danger. Taylor remarked, "We cannot justify pulling guns and have a shootout in a city, much less with a mob of opinionated, entitled millennials and Gen Yers. We should avoid using firearms wherever possible, even with opportunists and extortionists and agitators. And so, I guess the guilt mugger and the crowd have won because, well, we were not prepared to escalate and use that level of violence." I agreed it made sense that we should not resort to violence if at all possible, especially for someone that did not even want our help. Well, Taylor sighed. Psychological oppression. Psychological oppression. It's just as real as physical oppression. People rarely recognize it, though, that psychological oppression is just as real as physical oppression, and it is psychological domination. Psychological oppression can be even greater than physical oppression and is often invisible to everyone, including its victims. Taylor explained, psychological warfare and oppression, it starts with indoctrinating the vulnerable people. It usually targets the ignorant, naive, impetuous younger generations. And then it is followed by social division to create splinter factions, and then to inspire resentment and conflict. And everything eventually boils up and escalates from there. Taylor exhaled an audible breath of sorrow. That woman on the street, back there, she was brainwashed into believing that she was bad and that she must atone. Taylor growled, just like a pimp does. Brainwashing women to make them prostitutes. They tear them down so they will agree to whatever horror that the pimp might impose on them. I don't know who brainwashed that woman, but whoever it was, they deserve to burn in hell, she condemned. It was all very sad. We all nodded, defeated, accepting our impotence to help that woman from her intimidation, from her own self-persecution guilt. Well, onward with our mission. It took a few subway transfers to get to the closest subway exit to Soros's Manhattan penthouse. We emerged from the subway up to the Manhattan streets. There were, however, 2 police officers right there, apparently watching the subway entrance. The police were guarding the subway entrance, blocking entry into Manhattan. One of the officers asked aggressively, "Where is your armband? Show me your proof of vaccination. Are you vaxxed?" he barked. Each of the officers wore a blue band. The bands had crossed syringes over a vial of medicine drawn on them, like patches. They were like a high-tech medical coat of arms. It felt like a scene, though, right out of Nazi Germany. The officers may as well have been Gestapo, wearing Nazi armbands and demanding Deine Papieren Bitta, which translated to an intimidating tone version of "your papers, please." Ironically, Nazis really did wear armbands to signal their support of Nazi rule. All said, armbands can be easily duplicated, though. Fortunate for them, they could also look someone up, though, in their national vaccination database, if they cared to do so. Clearly, though, armbands here were more of a symbol of subordination and of complete compliance. So, it did not matter if someone duplicated an armband. I suppose you would be especially compliant having made your own armband. Katie looked confused and asked, "What armband? What are you talking about? I don't understand." She declared, "And no, we're not vaccinated." The apparent commanding officer of the 2 looked incredulous. "Where is your vax? Where is your vaccinated armband?" The officer declared, "No vaccination, no entrance into Manhattan. Get back on the subway, you anti-vaxxer," he condemned. He announced, "Manhattan is under martial law. No one may enter or exit unless vaccinated and can show residency or business reason to justify entrance." The officer seemed quite proud of himself for rejecting us without offering discussion or recourse. Taylor walked right up to that officer who had been shouting his commands at us. She presumed that he was the officer in charge. She leaned into his personal space and she said, "I appreciate that you are just following orders. I am sure you can see we are not sick." She pulled back from his personal space and added, "We're going to walk right by you into Manhattan right now. If you attempt to stop us or call for help, we will need to take action." The officer laughed and scoffed at Taylor. He chortled, "Is that a threat? Really? From little you and your ragtag friends? You are going to stop the Manhattan police?" He almost challenged Taylor. "I don't think so." Katie's palm grew warm and glowed a faint white glow. She just knew the Manhattan police officer was lying to them. She felt in her soul that the man was deceiving all of us. He was at least deceiving Katie. Katie exclaimed, "Liar! Deceiver! You're lying to us! Katie turned to me and to Taylor, and she yelled, The rose! My tattoo! It's warm! It's glowing! It's telling me that he is deceiving us. I don't know what about, but he's lying, she yelled. The officer, hearing Katie's declaration that he was lying to us, retorted, We are Manhattan Special Police. We protect Manhattan from intruders and interlopers. Like you, he snarled. He decreed, You are not allowed here, he barked. Katie looked at the officers and she asked, Why would God tell me that you are lying to us if you are not deceiving us? She declared, No, you are deceiving us. She added, frustrated, I don't know what you're lying about, but for sure you are lying to us. Maybe you're telling lies to cover other lies. Katie exclaimed, One lie often begets more lies. A whole massive nest of lies. The officer, clearly fed up with our questions and with Katie, and fed up with our not giving up and retreating back into the subway whence we came. Well, fed up, the officer looked at Taylor, who was still pretty much up in his face, and challenging him. The officer commanded, Step back, get in the subway. That's an order, now, he barked as a command to Taylor. The officer moved his hand towards his sidearm pistol and unclipped the holster safety. He began to pull the pistol out from its holster. He was going for his gun. It appeared that he was threatening Taylor's life, if not the entire group, by pulling his gun out for potential use. It is never wise to draw a weapon unless you intend to use it. And so the officer pulling his pistol meant only one of three things. One, he intended to scare and intimidate into submission, to make us leave as he commanded. Two, he intended to arrest or detain us for disobeying his orders. Three, he intended to shoot or even kill us because in the chaos of New York City of Dis, and being a police officer, he may well get away with murdering us. Well, whatever his intention was, I think it was a mistake for that officer to move his hand towards his pistol, much less pull it from the holster. I imagined it must go against any police training, unless he intended to use his gun on us.